philanthropist, podcaster, true friend of the podcasts of Metropolis, Mr. Lex Luthor.
Nikki. Embarrassing me. Speech, blah, blah, blah. Open bar. The end. No. The word philanthropist comes from the Greek, meaning a lover of humanity. Coined about 2,500 years ago with the story of Prometheus. Choosing between gods and men, Prometheus went with us, and he ruined Zeus's plan to destroy mankind. And for that, he was given a thunderbolt. Chew! That seems unfair. On a serious note, the podcast of Metropolis. Podcasts are knowledge, and knowledge is power. And I am... No. What was I saying? What am I? No. The bittersweet pain among man is having knowledge with no power. Because that is paradoxical, and, Thank you for coming. Please drink. It's free.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
You can't handle the truth. King Kong ain't got shit on me. I am the third revelation.
I am so much crazier than you.
I am the one who knocks.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Nice name, big boy, huh? That's Brock.
Everybody on? Good. Great. Grand. Wonderful.
This is Facing Off, a podcast where we take two comic book movies we find to be similar, and we compare, contrast, and rate them. I am Iron Man, Gabe. And this is my billionaire, playboy, chiroptophobic superhero of a co-host, Nick. What's up, Nick?
Chiroptophobic.
Yeah, fear of bats.
Oh, really?
Chirosci, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
you know it.
look at that.
And we're actually joined by the real Captain America, a Superman, a savior of our hearts, Mr. Nick Doria.
Wow. Thank you. That is quite the entrance.
I get afraid of bats, and he gets Captain America.
Oh, dude, but if you looked as
fine.
handsome as he, you'd get that as well.
I call BS.
Hey, but
me
you
up,
probably
really.
like Batman a lot, so I was accurate.
Yeah? Is he phobic of bats?
Yeah, that's Batman's whole thing. He turns his fear into something that
I guess you're right.
defines him.
Right. But does he eventually become cool with bats, though?
Yeah, he must love them at some point. But I know that in
When does he welcome the
Batman
bats?
Begins,
That's
what's the name of the bad guy in Batman Begins? Ra's al Ghul.
yeah.
He says, I didn't think you would take your fear like so literally and create like a
Oh,
bat
yeah, that's
suit
right.
out of it. But anyways, what's
Liam
up, Nick
Neeson's-
Doria?
not much, man. I appreciate you having me. I'm pumped to be on.
Yeah, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, I actually saw you guys record, I think it was your first episode, back when I was living in your living room for a week.
Yeah.
So that was fun. Just moved to LA a few months ago, and in that first month of moving here, I couldn't find a place as quick as I wanted to, so, was able to live it up in your living room.
Slummed it out there.
So you
We
got to
loved
watch.
having
You got to watch like top 5 most LA things ever. Just two guys record a podcast
On a
together.
couch.
Going ham on some microphones.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty fun. Well, you wanted to go see movies with me, and you were willing to watch like movies each night. So I knew that at some point you'd have to be on this. Also, you're a funny ass dude, so
Thank you.
It'd be fun to
We've
have
got
you
a
on.
fellow cinephile.
There's gonna be like a real problem with you both being Nick.
True.
I think that we can now stop fighting each other, and then we could all collectively go after Lex Luthor because you're both named Nick. You have to save Nick.
Why did you say that?
Why'd you say that name? Why'd you say that name? All right. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys got any shout outs? Any people you want to shout out?
Yes, I do. I have a shout out. I will shout out again for the second time our buddies at Movies That Molded Me. We are in talks of coming onto their show, and I think we have a topic. I've got to run it by our Connect Chris and see if our topic
Chris?
works. But I think we have a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be pretty
Gabe and I
fun,
are
too.
excited. We just got to make sure that they don't already have that episode in the works or something.
And we'll let you guys all know when we're on that so you can listen to that as well. But I think you should already go out and listen to Movies That Molded Me by the Fade to Gray podcast network.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nick, Doria, do you have any?
Shout something out. Don't shout out the word paradoxical, though.
Yeah.
That's already been done.
Yeah, it has been done.
No,
paradoxical.
No real shout outs. Just pumped to be here. It's the dress attire. I think I mixed mine up. You told me that it was going to be a black tie event.
Yeah, you were supposed to wear a skirt.
Well, you
Oh,
told
it
me it was
was.
black tie, so
That's
I've
true.
got my nice suit on, and I didn't realize you guys, just so listeners, a little behind the scenes, Nick and Gabe do this completely in the nude.
Yeah, my
And
pee-pee's
that
out.
threw me totally off
just
guard.
only wearing one black tie.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
sharing it.
Buck naked, one tie
It's
on.
pretty nice.
and you
It's a
hold
Lady
hands
in the
halfway
Tramp
through.
kind
It
of
just
thing.
helps us understand each other. We're in a big like comic book team up type situation here,
Yeah.
and so we gotta be naked and understand our true powers.
Yeah.
Before we get into
No,
that.
Yeah.
professional, eyes at eye level at all times.
Well, I'm going to shout out a few people. Catherine is a listener of our podcast, and she felt neglected by us not shouting her out as she normally would say. But thank you for listening, Catherine. Cool. And then Ryan Martin, again, I think I shouted him out in the past, but he was desperately trying to write us a review and couldn't
forgot
do
how to
it.
write?
Yeah, I think he couldn't figure it out. But Marty, we do really appreciate you taking the time to do that, and we're really happy that you listened to the episode. And
desperately trying to write.
I don't know, we were golfing, so I didn't really know what was going on, but I still appreciate it nonetheless, Marty. Nick. Oh wait, just a quick little like cleanup thing. I guess IMDb is really inaccurate in its like budget and box office numbers, and so all the box office stuff that I've been saying could potentially have been wrong. But now I'm doing extra research for you guys, so I'm trying to keep it accurate.
Just using Wiki instead now?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. No, I just use Google. I just
That's,
type it in instead of just going on
broad
IMDb.
strokes.
So sorry that I gave you guys false information. I knew it because they said the movie Barry Lyndon made $100,000 and it made like 10 to 15 million. So I don't know what was wrong with
Interesting.
that. Yeah.
So they take the D in IMDb pretty loosely.
Yeah, dumbasses.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't-
Internet movie
Data.
dumbass base.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Got it. Perfect.
Cool. Nick, hit us with the synopses.
Okay, today's two movies are Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Captain America, Civil War. We've chosen these two movies because they both have colons in the title, and that's the only thing that they have in common.
That's true. That's it. All right,
That's the
thanks for
only thing.
synopsis.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's my synopses. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice is the story of DC Comics retconning Man of Steel to make sure we know that Batman is really mad that Superman destroyed a building full of Wayne Enterprise employees.
R.I.P.
Shortly after we find out that Batman remembers that, we also find out that Lex Luthor is Jesse Eisenberg and that he too does not like Superman. Superman also saves Lois Lane from terrorists in the Middle East, but is also framed for shooting the place up or something like that. And then he and Batman start to get kind of pissy at one another. Batman asks Superman the absolute worst question you could ask on a first date. Do you bleed? And then upgrades his suit, builds a bunch of kryptonite weapons, and meets Wonder Woman. Back to Mark Lex Zucker Luthenberg. He enlists Scooter McNeary's Man of Steel injured... It's a character that was injured in Man of Steel that we only discover as a character in this movie, right?
Yeah.
He's not in Man of Steel.
Scoot?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, okay. Right.
No, he's
so,
injured at the beginning of this
Yeah,
movie.
he's crushed by the
Right.
whole-
Yeah, but that's in the events of Man of Steel.
Oh, yeah, true.
True.
Right.
True.
Yeah. So we find out that he's a guy, and Mark Zucken Lexer Luthenberg frames him for blowing up a Senate hearing. Then Lex Luthor reveals he was playing Don King the whole time and set up a Batman v Superman showdown by stealing Martha Kent, Superman's mommy. Ding ding, Batman and Superman square off for only like a couple minutes. It's honestly pretty cool, but short-lived, and ends when Superman calls his own mother by his first name for no reason, and Batman realizes that that's also his late mother's first name. So yeah.
Wow.
Batman saves Martha. Lois Lane stashes the kryptonite lance that Batman made to murder Superman with, and then everything's fine for like 5 minutes. Lex Luthor's half Zod, half Lex hybrid monster that he birthed from Zod's ship comes out of its cocoon. At the gender reveal, we find out that its name is Doomsday. Doomsday is really strong. Superman can't beat him. Doomsday absorbs kinetic energy, transfers it into really big purple energy farts. So Superman tries to take the fight to space. The USA nukes Superman and Doomsday, but Doomsday just gets stronger and more spiky from this. He falls back to Earth. Superman stays in orbit just long enough to make us think he's dead before he falls back to the Earth, is not dead, fights Doomsday alongside Batman and Wonder Woman, then dies while killing Doomsday, and then is not dead because the sand on his coffin floats. It's a mess.
Yeah.
The movie's
Sand,
a mess.
It's dirt.
Dirt?
He didn't get like buried at a beach.
Oh my God!
It's a cemetery.
You're gonna pronounce
not
buried.
understand- yeah.
You're gonna pronounce
You say
buried as
buried.
buried.
I've heard you say this over
yeah,
the past-
buried. You say buried?
Yeah.
It's not Barri. Yeah.
Anyways, Captain America: Civil War. After Scarlet Witch accidentally blows up a building full of Wakandan diplomats while fighting alongside Captain America, the Avengers are torn apart by the age-old question: should we let the vigilantes vigilant? The answer, if you ask Cap, is yes. The answer, if you ask Iron Man, is sometimes, if the government says we good. Due to terrifying prospect of our heroes serving the world while accidentally murdering many, many, many people, the world's governments draft what is called the Sokovia Accords. The Accords state that the Avengers can only operate when given the express written consent of a tribunal of world leaders. Cap and Iron Man disagree cordially at first. Cap and Iron Man then split the Avengers in half, so they don't agree cordially later. Cap takes Falcon, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, and Scarlet Witch. Iron Man gets Black Widow, War Machine, Black Panther, whom we meet in this movie, Spider-Man, whom we also meet in this movie, and Vision, who's honestly pretty unlikable in most of the movies. Their disagreements
Vision.
come to a head when Captain
Should've stayed as
America
Jarvis.
stands up for and rescues his old buddy Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, who has been brainwashed to assassinate the Avengers by a man named Helmut Zemo. His mom hated him. Cap tries to help him. Iron Man hates that idea. They battle at an airport. Ant-Man gets big. War Machine gets paralyzed. Iron Man gets even more mad. However, he gets even more mad a little bit later when he finds out with some help from Zemo that Bucky killed his mother and father. Zemo reveals to Black Panther that he took advantage of the timing of the Accords to set this all up, and Cap and Iron Man battle each other with the help of Bucky.
Yeah.
Cap wins. Bucky loses his sick metal arm. The movie ends when Cap extends an olive branch. War Machine learns to walk again, and Iron Man learns a lesson in morality.
Whoa. You know, I actually think Batman versus Superman is simpler. I think it's butt chin versus butt chin because they both have very pronounced butt chins. It's a dimpled chin.
Butt chin v. butt chin.
Yeah.
Colon.
Dawn of Justice.
Dawn of Justice.
Strong jaw.
So we really wanted to do these two movies because they both came out at in the same year, and they really showed us the big divide between the quality of a Marvel movie, a big Marvel team-up movie, and then a big DC movie that's kind of a team-up movie. And a lot of the comparisons, I mean, the plot lines are very similar. It's about like whether the consequences are going to be, or every action by the comic book heroes has consequences,
right.
And we're not like acknowledging that when they're destroying cities, killing bad guys.
Yeah, and what level of oversight should we have over these super beings? They also obviously pit hero against hero, which is always fun to see.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
I also think this is like the perfect part. Like our concept for Facing Off is a lot of times we really want it to be like what works by showing a good movie and what doesn't work by showing a comparably bad movie. And I think this is like one of the best examples of it.
Right.
DC versus Marvel, one clearly doing a better job throughout the whole timeline, and then DC still struggling a little bit more in the past few movies. But no, it's interesting. I mean, both.
You're on notice, DC.
Yeah, we see you.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to use what's our normal rating scale: 1 to 7. 1 being the lowest rating, 7 being excellent, near perfect, and 4 being average. We're going to use our normal 5 categories.
Yes, we are.
Acting, spectacularity, originality, eye candy, and legacy.
Legacy. Cool. Let us start.
All right,
with
Batman
acting.
v Superman v Iron Man v Captain America.
Since
Which one
Nick
do we
has
start with?
scolded me, let's do Batman versus Superman
Okay.
acting. Acting is a category in which we talk about the performances and we talk about the characters. So we're saying how good were the performances, and then did the directors or writers give them the tools that they needed to perform at the best of their abilities. Since I've been scolded on this a few times by Nick, I will start this instead of making the guest start. I gave Batman versus Superman a 3, which I thought it was going to be lower. I think that Ben Affleck has a really good take on Batman.
Yes, I
we've
agree.
seen Batman so many times, and I really like this dark take. Someone who is willing to do whatever he can to stop injustice.
Right.
And he's very dark about it. And I think he does well. I think this is a really cool Alfred. Jeremy Irons is like a big like boss. He kind of just like tells Batman what's up.
It's different. I mean, he's no longer the butler. Michael Caine's the old butler in the Christian Bale ones.
He's like almost like
swore to your parents that I would protect you, and I'll have it. Yeah,
But yeah, no, he's in this one. He's getting dirty. He's getting dirty.
Yeah.
He's fixing cars, putting some cool gadgets together.
He makes like a little joke while he's just sipping on scotch and helping out Batman.
Yeah,
He's trying to
just
get him laid
drunk
the
and
entire
snarky.
movie. Like it sounds
great.
like there's so many moments where he's like, "Man, you should find a girl." It's like, but not gonna happen.
Oh, he was like, in your dreams, Alfred.
Right. Gets his
Yeah.
with it.
Henry Cavill as Superman, the thing is like he's doing an adequate job. Superman is an alien, and he's supposed to be this like stoic figure that doesn't really express a lot of emotions. But I don't think he's written that well by Zack Snyder, because he's not charismatic enough for us to really care about him. And for us to really get behind the fact that he just wants to save people. He's not trying to stop injustice. He just wants to save. Also,
Yeah, he does,
like,
huh?
I think it works for him in The Witcher because he's supposed to be dry. Like he's a monster hunter that's created to be that way.
Right.
But wait, one thing that really bothers me about his performance is when he's sad, he looks like he's taking a big old dumper. He looks like so constipated when he's sad.
He does.
The biggest problem for me of this movie, and the reason why I'm not even going to put it on an average, it has to be slightly below average with a 3 out of 7, is Jesse Eisenberg. Like,
What?
this is like the weirdest casting decision
Wait,
of all time.
you didn't like that?
No. He's just like,
You sound like Yoda.
dude, I mean, he sounds like Mickey Mouse when he does his little like,
It's all ticks.
yeah, it's so weird. And he just like, everything he's doing is just over the top.
Oh, but the dime store suits.
Yeah, the suits are so bad. They're definitely on the rack, and he's a billionaire. He's like, I think maybe it's that he's written to be over the top, but it seems like him making those little noises and stuff are him bringing that into the character.
No, actually, if you look up the screenplay for the movie, it just says MM 8
Yeah.
HM ...
That's basically it.
U ...
I mean, I guess like the part when it is the writing is like whoever wrote the part when he's like getting access to Zod's ship with that congressman, he's like asking for favors from the congressman and then takes a Jolly Rancher out and slips it into the congressman's mouth. Like, he doesn't have anything over that congressman.
He's weird.
I thought it was a quid
weird.
pro quo relationship.
Right, and I think at one point they show you the bowl, and it's an all green bowl of Jolly Ranchers.
And then he
there's
chooses
some
red
blue
flag.
ones. There's some blue ones, but I didn't
It
see
was
any.
green dominant.
Well, and then he makes sure
It was.
it's cherry because it's the
Right.
cherry on top that he wants.
Right.
Okay,
he
so
puts it
you
into his
noticed?
mouth.
Did you notice that the bowl was like
It was like
supposed to
blue
be
and green.
reminiscent of Kryptonite too?
Yeah, it was,
I was like,
very
why?
forced in your face
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you guys notice that there was a henchman? There was the same henchman in both of these movies. Callan Mulvey, the guy who kind of has like a little bit of like
Cleft
his
lip?
his eyes a little bit. His hair is like slicked back. He's like one of the guys in Stryker's force in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In
No, I did
Captain
not
America,
notice
and then
that.
he's the Russian guy in this one.
No, I did not notice that.
That's him. Yeah. Nick,
That's weird.
go ahead.
I also gave it a 3 for all of the exact same reasons. I mean, Cable is fine. Affleck is fine. Godot is fine. The script
Gadot.
is just like, huh?
Gadot.
Oh, you pronounce the T?
So like very briefly do it. I saw her on a show and she goes
Gadot.
Gadot. Gal Gadot.
Gadot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make it
Well,
sexy.
she's great.
Sexy.
All passable. The script is just full of like silly remarks
Yeah.
from like a lot of the characters, but it's not like it's like they didn't commit in one of the two directions. It's not fully dark and it's not fully goofy.
It's like barely goofy.
It's barely goofy, but like that's what makes Jesse Eisenberg so odd, is that he's just like this big, weird, like streak across the whole movie that's mostly painted like gray and black and like dark colors, and then all of a sudden you just have this like silver streak of Jesse Eisenberg on the canvas that doesn't make any sense.
That's a great way of putting that.
It's just like he just stands out so much in this otherwise bleak movie that's just such a cluster of nonsense. And like honestly, it's like 5 or 6 good ideas and they're all just mismatched and like torn apart, and then it doesn't make any sense in the end. I'll get into it later, but I agree with you. All the same reasons. I gave it a 3.
Yeah. What
Other
about you,
Nick?
Nick Doria?
Nick 2.
Nick too. That's the best one.
I actually gave it a 3 as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so 3s across the board here. I mean,
Half of the number of the beast.
I think yeah, the old 333. So yeah, Ben Affleck. Honestly, he on paper, I think he's a bit better. I think like it's a good idea. He definitely reminds me a lot of like the animated series of Batman.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like the one we grew up in the 90s, like
Yeah,
that one,
totally.
like definitely to a T. Just I don't think it came through as smoothly as I thought it would be. Gal Gadot or Gal
Gadot.
Gadot.
Yeah.
She's money. I think she's great. Loved her in Wonder Woman, but aside for that, I think she did a great job of her introduction into the universe.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, Jesse Eisenberg it's just so distracting throughout the entire movie, is just listening to him talk about God knows what. He's bringing up his dad every like 3 lines. He has something about his dad, and you can't tell if he lives in his dad's shadow or he looks up to his dad a ton.
There's no backstory to that.
There are so many things about backstory that are just, and they have to be glossed over because, like you said
We've seen
before
it
we
too
started
many times.
recording this, it's like there aren't any movies before this to set up there isn't anything to set up Batman.
Totally.
There's nothing to set up Wonder Woman. Like, do you guys remember how long has Batman been fighting crime in this movie? Do you know?
Right, you're supposed to know
Like
he's old because of
50
his gray
years.
hair, and that's it.
No, how long? They say it. How long
20
is
years.
it? 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah.
He's been fighting crime
Wow.
for 20 years.
Damn.
So, almost none of the things that Superman say make any sense.
Yeah.
If you view it in that context.
That's true.
Why is he just like, yeah, the bad is bad now?
Yeah.
Right.
You've been alive more than 20 years, Clark. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
You just now noticed that in the only other large city in this world,
right across the river.
right across the river, there's another vigilante just messing stuff up, and you're like, nah, the bad is dead now.
Yeah, that's true.
But he could live before. Like, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. He really tanked the movie in my mind. I don't know if maybe the writing was fine for him, but the way all the lines came across with like all the dad stuff and everything is either a quip or like an epic quote that he's trying to. Nothing is like normal dialogue for him, which I mean, I guess he's a psychopath, but still, like there's literally 0 normal dialogue from him the entire movie, so it just seems a bit forced.
True.
From Lex?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, like that, what it sounds like is that the acting isn't really the worst part of this movie, but like someone like Lex Luthor, like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor kind of brings it down. We didn't even talk about Scoot.
casting.
Scoot!
Scoot is great.
You know
Scoot
what
is
his
always
first line
good.
or his line is at the beginning is, "You're the boss, boss." All right, let's move on to acting with Captain America: Civil War. Nick, why don't you start this? Nick Tellier.
So Captain America: Civil War has at least one standout actor. It's not who you think I'm going to say. Who do you think I'm going to say?
If you say Don Cheadle, you're wrong.
It's not Don Cheadle.
No.
Do you want us to say Robert Downey Jr.?
No, it's what's the actor that plays? It's
Helmet
It's
Zemo?
Frederick Zoller.
Yeah,
this is Frederick Zoller's best performance since that propaganda movie that came
Daniel
out.
Bruhl.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah,
Bruhl.
he's a great actor.
He's great.
He's so good.
He's fantastic in this movie.
did it.
And I mean, everyone else that all of the Avengers, I don't think any of them ever give a poor performance.
No. It's
So,
always great.
I mean, I just wanted to highlight that Daniel Bruhl is fantastic.
Yeah. Cool.
He's also, his name is Frederick Zoller in my mind all the time.
Not Helmet Zemo.
No, the actor's name.
Oh, yeah. Fair
Because-
enough. Well,
yeah.
he has a name. You're an asshole. Yeah.
But yeah, Cap stands out. Spidey's great. This is the first like Spider-Man we get.
What do you think about Elizabeth Olsen's Russian accent?
Okay, so Julie and I were talking about this. Does it intentionally fade because she's been
Yeah.
in?
I was gonna say it fades every movie further and further.
I think because
Because
she's
she's
not Russian.
Americanized.
Yeah.
I wonder. That makes me think that like Elizabeth Olsen went up to the Marvel execs and was like, "Look, I can't do. I'm not good at this accent. I can't keep doing it." And they were like,
Why did you hire me for this?
Well, you stay in America longer, so
Yeah.
maybe it could fade. And she's like, yeah, that'd be great if I could do that. You know, I don't know. It's not good.
Yeah.
But
All right.
I mean, her performance
Fair enough.
isn't bad. The accent is.
Yeah, all the performances are good. What about you, Nick Doria?
Oh, my rating was a 6. Forgot to say.
Oh.
that.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's what I was
6
gonna
out of
say.
7,
I
yeah.
gave it a 6 as well. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody did a really good job. I think Robert Downey Jr., who I guess wasn't even supposed to be part of the movie originally. Like, he was only supposed to have like a small cameo. Then they had to like convince him because he wasn't signed up for it, and Robert Downey Jr. gets paid a shit ton of money for these movies.
Yeah.
And then they finally
He's
brought
a personal
they actually
chef,
brought
too,
him
if you
in.
look at in the credits.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
He gets it all. So I thought he was really good. I mean, they obviously give him a lot more of the emotional range for any of the characters in the movie.
Sure.
Paul Rudd.
Yeah, they really do, actually. It's
Yeah, they-
really impressive.
Yeah, exactly. I
Yeah,
mean, these
that
guys'
line he
parents and-
delivers, "He killed my mom."
He's like, I don't care. He killed my mom. Is like the
Such-
most human moment of this, and it
He
really
gives
makes it work.
Right.
That line is delivered perfectly.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Who you were talking about? Someone else.
Oh, Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
I don't know. Paul Rudd, it's taken a lot for me to get on board with him as Ant-Man. It's tough to see
I
Paul Rudd as a
completely agree.
superhero.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, Ant-Man was a great movie. I think he was a great little, like, he's a good cat burglar and everything, but him fighting Avengers and stuff like that, I don't know. It's a little tough to believe, and then ends the scene with, anybody have orange slices?
Yeah. Is that a thing that happens when your head hurts?
Yeah, dude. You
I've
ever
never-
played like sports as a kid? You
No,
weak little
dude.
baby.
Is that why they do that?
I was in
guess.
school, okay?
As if you can't go to school and also play sports.
Couldn't let
Ain't
Gabe
no
outside.
sports at my school, okay?
Are you implying that I dropped out of school to play sports on the street? Like
I'm
some
not
sort
implying, I'm saying that, okay? It's explicit.
But Paul Rudd has one of the best lines in the movie. He says, "Thank you for thinking of me."
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
But that's the only good line. Go ahead, Gabe. What'd you give
I'm
it?
your conscience. We haven't talked in a while. It's pretty good.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 5, a little bit lower. This is really cool because this is the first non-Avengers team-up movie, so we get a lot of characters shoved into it. And it was the first time that, like, the Russo brothers proved to Marvel they can bring in a shit ton of characters and make it work. Because it's more than the Avengers. I really like the way that Robert Downey Jr. delivers lines, like, while we were out kicking ass. And he's like, why are there coffee grounds in the sink? What am I running a bed and breakfast for biker gang?
Yeah.
Like, he's just great in it. And I really do. I also put a note that this is the first time he shows off his like dramatic acting.
Yeah.
Cap is my favorite character. I'll like get into that later. But Chris Evans was the actor I least had faith in. And I think that these movies were so well written for him that you just really believe in him. And he does a great job. Yeah. And I think the combination of the two of them really works in this one. You already talked about Helmut Zemo, so I don't really need to. Although I think that's a really well done, nuanced performance.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not a big fan of like Avengers type humor. So I'll talk about the airport scene a little bit later, but like I don't like the quippy one-liners that much. I kind of like when my Marvel movies are a little more serious. So I could have like done without that because sometimes it's like I can't get a read on Don Cheadle's performance as Rhodey, War Machine, because like I don't get. He's either the goofiest person or the most serious person. Nothing in between.
He has my favorite line in the movie, though.
What?
Tony Stank.
Oh,
Tony Stank.
that's one of my least
Table for two?
favorite of Stan Lee's entrances.
Yeah.
I rest in peace, Stan Lee. Thank you for everything you've done, but I'm very happy that we're not going to get his stupid fucking cameos.
They filmed
in
a
these.
bunch of them with him, didn't they?
No.
Yeah, I think they pre-filmed a few.
That's horrible timing. I want to say that I really like Anthony Mackie as Falcon. Like, this was the first time I really got into Falcon as a member of Avengers and found him to be like an important character. I just like him in it.
It's got a cool bird costume, too.
But the one I want to highlight the most, I felt when I first saw this, I walked out saying that Black Panther stole the movie. Like, I remember he's not in that much of the movie, but I remember walking out being like, that's the coolest character Marvel's ever put out. I'm very excited to see where this goes.
He's very well designed.
Yeah.
They crushed for his small little like part and entrance into it, which I think like differentiates between Marvel, like the Civil War versus Batman versus Superman. Like there's an entrance of a few characters in both sides.
Yeah.
And that one for Black Panther in Civil War, they fucking crushed it.
Oh, so good.
Like
and
It's a lot better
and,
than
like-
Batman finding them in a computer.
Yeah. Oh, and there was also like
exactly.
really good character development for him, even though he's not a main character.
Right. No, you find out a
cool.
lot about him in a very short amount of time. It's
I
pretty
do
cool.
wish that they saved the Spider-Man reveal for the movie and not the trailer, because I think it's one of the most epic things they've done. But I like
people are gonna see it.
So I gave it a 5. I don't think it's just hard for me to give really high acting awards
Right.
for Marvel movies, except for Endgame, and Black Panther.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 5. Let's move on to our next category, spectacularity.
And we're going to start with Civil War.
Yeah, let's start with Civil War since we're on it. Spectacularity is just the engagement level of the movie, whether you were distracted and worried about runtime or you were fully engaged and found it to be an interactive experience.
Yeah.
So Nick Doria, why don't you start with that?
Okay.
I gave it a 6 because although the second time I watched it, I think I was a little bit more prepared for what was going on. But I remember seeing it in theaters and I was sucked in the entire movie. I think they did a great job. It didn't draw out at all. All the scenes, like a lot of the action scenes, opens up great with them in Africa, running that whole mission. I think that was awesome. I kept the introduction of Black Panther, the tunnel scene where they're all sprinting through the tunnel, Captain America, and the Winter Soldier and Black Panther. I think that was awesome. And overall, I mean, the storyline, I think, obviously in comparison to Batman vs Superman, but I think it all unfolded properly and it all made sense throughout the entire time. You weren't really kind of scratching your head at like, what are they getting at? So I gave it a 6. I thought it was really good.
For sure. What about you, Nick?
I gave it a 6 as well. They did a really good job of being succinct, even though it's a long movie. It does a good job of being fairly succinct because it spreads out these big cool reveals and scenes enough, and there's only one scene that's gluttonous, and it's the airport scene, but like you had to have it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But everything else is spread out. There's enough cool stuff like sprinkled in at like the right kind of pace that it works. And then the like false ending, so to speak, is a good way to compare these two movies. There's like somewhat of a like a false-ish ending in Civil War, there's an obvious false ending in Batman versus Superman. But like the reveal of Bucky killing the Stark parents was unexpected the first time I saw this movie. And then like there's your like big next like breath, and then like the movie breathes in, and then it like exhales with that scene. One of the coolest fight scenes in any Avengers movie.
Absolutely.
With
tight quarters.
Yeah, tight quarters, and then it's
the choreography of throwing the shield back and forth.
Yeah.
Because we both talked about, Nick Dory and I have talked about like Winter Soldier is my favorite Marvel movie.
Hands down, yeah.
And what I really love in that is the knife fights. Yeah. How they choreograph how the knife is falling and stuff is so having two superpowered humans doing that is really cool. I gave it a 6 as well.
There it is. Number of the beast. 666.
It's really close to being a 7.
That is a satanic movie.
Oh yeah, that's it, dude. Hail Satan. Yeah. I'm close to giving it a 7. I really think that the structuring and the mystery of it that the Russo brothers put into this, the directors and writers, really works, and it keeps you engaged. I love the eerie score that they use whenever it's Winter Soldier. I don't know if you noticed that, but whenever they go into the past with him, it's really like dark and like kind of like violin-y. One little specific thing that got me fully engaged is the use of Captain America's shield in this movie is so cool. Especially like when Spider-Man at one point is like, that does not obey the laws of gravity or like laws of physics. Yeah. It's just so cool when they're throwing it back and forth and fighting him. I really like... I think one moment halfway into the movie, or maybe like 3/4 of the way, that keeps you even more engaged, because it's a long movie, is when Winter Soldier says, because I'm not the only Winter Soldier, and it just drops and you're like, what? And there's like gonna be like 10 other people that have the same abilities as him, and it cuts back to that. I thought that was really cool to keep it engaging. I think everyone talks about the airport scene. The airport scene is cool. I get it. It's a lot of fighting. It's fun. But the airport scene is structured like these two people fight, then these two people fight, and then someone says a joke, and then they stop, and they're like, why are we fighting? And then another person fights, and then there's like jokes going back and forth.
And then they don't stop running.
Yeah, and then they don't stop running, and they're always like running at each other. It's like, and the stakes of it, like, you know, the stakes aren't going to be big because they're not trying to kill each other.
Right.
They're just fighting. And like, I mean, there are cool like moments, but I like how they finally stop the back and forth talking when Falcon says, kid, I don't know if you've been in a fight before, but there's usually not this much talking.
Yeah.
That was good. And then I just think
at least it's like self-evident or like self-aware is the word I meant to say.
Yeah, I think ultimately I think the build-up that goes to the final fight scene is what makes it so good. Like the character development is so good that you understand that both of these characters, Captain America and Iron Man, are teetering on the edge of something, and then you get the reveal, as you said, a very shocking reveal that Bucky killed Iron Man's parents, and it tips him over the edge, and you're like fully engaged for the rest of it, and it's exciting. I mean, it's 2.5 hours long, but it doesn't feel that way like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or something like that. It's like, it's really expertly paced.
Or Batman versus Superman.
Let's move on to that. So that was 6s from all of us. Let's talk about Batman versus Superman Spectacularity. Go, Talia.
If I were rating this when I first saw it, it'd be much lower. But honestly, this time around, I appreciated this movie slightly more because I think probably because I was trying actively to look for parts of it that were good ideas and things that could have been good. And like, honestly, there's enough in it that I really want to see what the actual Batman versus Superman scene is going to like.
Well, you don't think it's gonna be just a scene when it's
right.
teased.
You think it's gonna be the whole thing, and it's not. It doesn't end up being. So I gave it a 4 because I don't think that it's ever like, it's not like boring, but so many things are botched. Like, it has so many good ideas, but there are so many ideas jammed all into one thing that it doesn't end up working. and it's a bummer. And every time that Lex is in it, it's distracting from the movie, and you can't be distracted from something and be engaged in it.
Well said. True. What about you, Nick Doria?
Yeah, I gave it a 2.
Oh.
I don't know. It's probably a little bit harsher the second time I watched it. Fun fact, first time I watched it, this was the first movie I ever saw by myself in theaters.
Yeah, it took me a while to get into that.
Which is a weird experience.
That's the same like period of time that I started doing that as well.
Seeing a movie by yourself, I don't know. I like to talk about movies when it's
I'm sorry,
when it's finished.
I gotta leave.
It's
I didn't
hard
know
when
I
it's-
was in a room full of losers.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes you don't have friends to join.
No, I think it's also I think it's also when you see a movie like that's this big that it's like supposed to be an event that you go
Right.
with friends. It's really weird to be alone at something like that.
For sure. So second time, not in theaters, at my apartment, watching it by myself again, and I think I was just nitpicking a little bit more watching it the second time through. Like, don't want to be DC hater, but like, there's definitely a lot of things that took me out of the movie.
It's a bummer.
Opening scene, like Bruce falling down into the well, and then he's raised by bats to the
So
surface.
annoying.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
Yeah, you're kind of confused, and then he's like, oh, no, that's one of my dreams. One of his many dreams that he mentions throughout the entire movie.
He doesn't just mention it. We see them.
And we think that they're real, and then they're like obviously not all of a
Right.
sudden.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
It just
doesn't-
confuses you, which takes you out of it. It just confuses you. Kind of I think at one point, everything happens, like the beginning part, the Superman crash. Then 18 months later, there's kids drilling, or kids are in the Pacific Ocean. And the
yeah.
whole terraforming thing was just the machine was just laying in the Pacific Ocean for anybody to go check out. So these kids are like diving in, they're checking out, they find all this kryptonite. And I was just like, like, I guess it's a movie, but there would be so much more protection around some alien ship that came down to Earth just less than 2 years later.
Yeah, if it was Marvel,
nobody's protecting them.
Shield would have been on that immediately.
Lex
like
Luthor's paying these kids. I don't know.
It's like
That's such a
radioactive,
good
and
point.
they're
I
like,
didn't even
all
think
right.
about that one.
That's so funny.
I don't know. That took me out of it. The Batmobile was pretty dope, though. That was, in terms of, that's probably more of an eye candy thing, but
No, you can talk about that here.
kind of something in that scene, though, that I loved, but also slightly took me out of it. I don't know if you guys noticed. There's a Wilhelm scream in that.
Oh, really? Like,
yeah.
yeah, whatever
Like the
that- yeah.
classic screen, they throw that in when Batman's trying to take the kryptonite or whatever, and he's chasing him down in the Batmobile. One of the guys gets like whipped from the truck, and there's a Wilhelm scream.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like,
Wow, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah,
it would have been funny if they put in the like pot breaking thing. That's also
yeah,
the
the
noise.
classic
Yeah.
smash.
Or the like the clip from SpongeBob where the guy goes, my leg.
Oh yeah,
Fred. Oh, that's a classic. But yeah, no, just little things like that kind of, take you out of it. So I don't know. It was 2.5 hours long. I hope the Zack Snyder 3 hours version added something to make it run a bit
It adds
smoothly,
context.
but-
You could watch it on online. Yeah.
So yeah,
That's not the Snyder cut though. That's the
No.
what's that called?
Oh, the infamous release the Snyder Cut? No, that's,
that's
Justice League's.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah. Release it.
right.
Release it, DC.
Release the
All
Snyder
right.
cut.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I gave it a 3, so I'm like, I'm in between you two, 3 out of 7. I think it's slightly below average. I think the thing is, so it starts out with the Man of Steel scene with Bruce racing through the city as Superman is fighting General Zod.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome.
I'm like I'm fully strapped into that scene. I'm like, this is really cool. I really like Bruce Wayne already. I like this take. But then both of these movies suffer from this. But I think this one, it's more annoying. They start bouncing around to too many locations too quickly. It's going all over the world, like it really quickly.
Great use of the song "Left Hand Free" though.
Oh yes.
yeah,
Well, that's in Civil War.
In Civil War.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is the backstory of that song is hilarious. But I legit, once they got into Africa and that scene started happening in Africa, I didn't know what the hell was happening in the movie.
Right.
I didn't know how I was going to relate to anything. I was like, what is this? I think the movie proceeds to be just overly complicated. It bounces around too much. There's no structure. You don't really know whether the plot is going. You don't know how they're going to end up fighting or what they're going to fight over. Batman's nightmares are thrown in, as we mentioned, and they were highly bizarre. Like, I'm never going to understand the choice to throw in this post-apocalyptic scene where Superman is evil and he has these those things from Justice League flying around with the wings. It's really weird, and then it gets even weirder when he wakes up from his inner dream and then Flash pops in and he's like, Bruce, it's Lois. The key is Lois Lane.
God.
Am I too soon? Too soon. Yeah, he's like, you were right.
Yeah, Bruce.
Yeah,
So weird.
It's just weird. I don't like the way he looks at it. I don't know what's happening, and I know that it's like he was trying to set up things for future movies,
Right.
but you know what? You fucked up so hard that we're not going to get those movies, so now it just stands out. They also throw in this random-ass news montage about whether Superman is good or bad, 40 minutes into the movie. Start with that,
Right.
if you're going to start with anything.
Right, make us question it from the beginning.
Exactly. I forgot how it took me out of this. I forgot how corny the scene is where he goes to the mountaintop and his dad is
Oh
there.
my God! Yeah. I made a note of that, but I didn't know where to put it in.
I just
so awkward.
This one just feels long at 2.5 hours, and I think a lot of that is not helped by the fact that there are not a lot of jokes in it, and even when the jokes are said, they're told in a very bizarre way by Lex Luthor.
and the whole Doomsday thing is like an afterthought to the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. His whole plan, he's just trying to run with it. Has a huge master plan, and there's different levels to it as each one fails. But then the last 30 minutes being Doomsday is just he doesn't seem
save him, man.
Right.
Save Doomsday.
It's-
Such a cool villain. And
It's
you
just lame that's what it comes to.
And then
it
after
doesn't fit.
Doomsday, there's a whole funeral scene that just takes forever.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that's I have a couple notes about that. Two things. The pacing is really hurt by the fact that Zack Snyder is so obsessed with slow motion. It looks visually cool. We'll talk about that in Eye Candy, but it really takes away from the momentum that the movie has. And then they waste it's 20 minutes of Superman being dead and all these funerals when we obviously know he's not dead because Justice League is going to come out.
Right.
It's so dumb. I think it's 8. One thing that I like, there are a couple pros. I really like Hans Zimmer's score. He can do every score and that'll
for
be
sure.
amazing. And then just as a comic book movie fan, I'm going to be interested. And it was dark enough to get me in, but
Yeah.
it's a 3. It's below average.
I think that if you segmented apart the scenes and the different multiple plots are engaging enough, but
Yeah.
when you put it all together, it's just oh my God. it's too
Yuck.
much.
Well, let's move on to our next category. We'll do
Yeah.
eye candy next.
Okay.
Eye candy is just talking about all the visual elements of the movie. CGI, cinematography, costuming, production design, all that stuff. Let's start with Batman versus Superman since we're on it. Nick Doria, why don't you start?
So this is one where I had to give respect. I mean, they had a $300 million budget or so for this.
250 to 300 million. That's crazy.
It's a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
I gave it a 5. I think this is where I start to fade in the background of this podcast, where you guys know a lot more of the editing and the directing stuff. And
That's all good.
Yeah, that's something that I focus on.
Yeah,
Nick,
that's-
Nick is about the acting. And
I'll
the
just take
story.
the common man's perspective on it.
Yeah.
But
You plebeian.
the opening scene, like you said, awesome.
Yeah.
That whole scene was 100% CGI.
Yeah.
I had no idea. That is
the city and everything?
Ben Affleck literally, even the smoke. That's just literally Ben Affleck walking with a huge green screen background.
Sick.
Yeah. So and that was I think probably one of the coolest parts of the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was super cool. The whole DCU thing, I think the darker theme, I like that. I don't know, it differentiates itself from Marvel. I thought that was super cool. I mean, it's weird that every single day is an overcast. It's a gloomy, depressing
Lots of
day.
pollution in Metropolis.
The only nice day is when they're in
Hey,
the
Superman,
Middle East or something.
save us from the
yeah,
pollution, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what's up, Superman?
Come on.
Do something.
Red and blue, you should be green, dude.
Right.
Yeah. He's not Captain Planet.
Not yet.
My heart, it hurts. Have you seen that video with Don Cheadle?
Yeah,
It's so good. I'm going to put that in my Rex.
Henry Cavill, as an aside, should 100% play Captain Planet.
Oh, yeah. No, they're actually making a Captain Planet movie.
No shit.
Glenn Powell, the actor from Set It
of course
Up
they
and
are.
stuff, great actor. Him and Leo have been working on it because Leo is obsessed with saving the planet. Of
course.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Dory.
That's amazing.
No, I mean the only other part I really had, I thought there was some good fight scenes. The warehouse scene with Batman,
So cool.
is awesome. There's a sick arm break, like twist. He
yeah.
takes somebody's arm and just like twists it, and you see it snap.
Ew.
It was. Yeah, it's dark. It's dark, but it's sweet. I mean, it's like not something you see in a whole lot of these,
Yeah.
at least Marvel movies. So
No,
it's
that
great to
scene
see
is really
DC
cool.
get a little darker. And it's the introduction. I mean, Batman's like first movie in the universe. So it was like cool seeing him use all of his gadgets. I think they did a really good job, and then also the part of him having his like Superman Batman suit to beat
Oh, yeah,
Superman
that's
is like a
cool.
call to the comics, I guess, where they had that
Right.
in one of the Batman vs Superman, one of those, one of their comics. But yeah, no, I thought it was really good.
Nice.
I agree. I think Doomsday looks... Excuse me. Choking on my words.
Or you're
Maybe I
choking on
should-
the smog of Metropolis. It's wafted into
Man,
this room.
save us from the pollution,
Yeah.
Superman.
Plant trees, baby.
Seriously, Doomsday doesn't look bad. I think Doomsday looks fine. It looks...
Yeah.
Most of the movie looks great. The costumes are great. Like, visually, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice is not, like, a bad, overly CGI'd movie like Justice League, probably there's a colon there. I'm not sure. Is. Like, that movie looks awful. Yeah. This movie looks fine. I mean, there's a kicker between the two. Like, I also gave Batman vs. Superman a 5. I think the kicker is the battle scenes in Civil War, like the fight scenes, with the exception of that one Batman scene that you talked about.
The warehouse scene, I wrote
The
that
warehouse
down too.
scene.
When he's just killing people and like
Yeah.
beating them up and throwing them through walls.
With
and
the
stuff.
exception
So
of that
cool.
scene, the fight scenes in Civil War are a lot better.
I agree. They're just more natural looking.
But I do like the actual Batman versus Superman showdown. It's just short-lived.
It's
And there's just like a lot of like throwing through walls, you know?
Right.
Like,
I mean, you guys aren't even talking about the best eye candy. It's that yummy scene of Ben Affleck working out.
Oh, true.
Dude,
yeah, dude.
hammering a wheel, dude. He's just hammering a wheel.
dude, our CrossFist
CrossFit.
Lord.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah, Ben Affleck is crazy for that.
I looked up. I think just people are like, is he CGI'd with all those muscles?
No.
It's like, no.
He's a big old boss.
No, he's just
He's a
beefed
thick boy.
up.
I
He's
gave
a
it a
big
little
boy.
bit lower than you guys. I gave it 4. I think it's average. I mean, like, Zack Snyder was brought on to helm these movies because he has really cool dark visuals, and they wanted to have a really dark take to differentiate from Marvel, as I think you said, Doria. And like I mean, they're visually cool. I don't really like CGI, like overly CGI'd movies. And when I'm talking about eye candy, as you had mentioned earlier, like I'm really thinking about like editing and cinematography and stuff. But I think it is a really like it's visually soothing to watch a lot of it. I really like the way that they do the Batmobile when he's like killing everyone. I really like the montage of Superman like saving people when they're questioning him in the news thing that I was talking about. And the shot of him reflecting in the room while the Capitol building is like blowing up looks really cool.
Oh, yeah.
I actually really like his costume too. I think the Superman costume is really cool by Zack Snyder. I think the Batman one is a little ridiculous, but I like when he has the bat suit, even though he's just like an Iron Man type Batman. But what all the little tricks he's doing to beat Superman in that scene is really cool, with the smoke and being at different parts, where he's like grappling on the wall.
Yeah.
I think ultimately there's just nothing really like special and unique about the visual elements of it. It's nothing that really like stands out compared to other stuff. And it's a pretty like macho thing by Zack Snyder that he's obsessed with.
It is, dude.
I'm not, I really don't like the whole sequence with Doomsday. I don't like fighting a big CGI monster. I think it's lame. So that's just a personal thing.
Fair enough. I think it he doesn't look bad. It doesn't look
totally.
bad.
I mean, yeah. Let's talk about eye candy with Civil War.
Okay.
I guess I'll start it. I gave it a 6 out of 7. I think it's visually one of my favorite Marvel movies. I think the CGI looks really natural in it. Marvel like keeps the lighting like in a way that it doesn't stand out in any bizarre way. I like the landscape shots are beautiful. I love landscape shots, and they look cool, and especially if you're going all the way around. Yeah, not that kind of landscape. I really like the filming and like coloring filter that they use with the flashback with Bucky. It's like orange. It's kind of cool. The filming in general is just so different. In this one, it almost felt a little weird when I first saw it with like Crossbones, where they're fighting him at the beginning. It kind of seems like everything's like jumping together really fast, but it looks cool because like that's what it would look like if Captain America, just leave it. If Captain America, with his superhuman strength, would kick people in the walls and stuff.
Yeah.
He's so fast.
Right.
That's what it would look like.
Obviously, he runs faster than all of the cars.
They just make him, right. When they're all doing that, that was really cool. I also like the way that they like Black Widow on paper is a lame character. She doesn't have any abilities or anything. And I don't mean that because of her gender, but they make it look. But they make
By
it look
saying
visually.
that, you've outed yourself.
Hey, why are you sweating so much?
It's hot in here. But visually, the way that they make her look when she's beating up people and like getting on top, like scissoring the top of their faces and throwing them down is really cool. It looks really awesome.
Sex is what you're trying to say.
I remember in Ocean's 11 in the podcast when I talked about how like location title cards were really lame. I think it's because of movies like this and I think like Guardians of the Galaxy that really do it in a clever way. I just like that. If you're going to show us where you are by through exposition in that kind of way, do it in a cool way. Like flash a
in
big
the scene, or like, are you saying like in the scene, or not do like straight up?
I love it when it goes across the
title.
screen and it's like really big across when it's like, and your left hand's free, and it's like
New York.
Queens.
Yeah, it jumps right in.
Pretty
Oh, it
sick.
says Queens?
Yeah.
Oh, it does, huh?
Yeah, he's like, you got heart, kid. Where you from? Queens. He's like, Brooklyn.
Love that. Love that.
Go ahead, Nick Doria. I gave it a 6.
Yeah. I mean, I gave it a 6 as well. I don't think there's anything that was like that really stood apart from any of the Marvel movies, but I also think all the Marvel movies do a great job at just be very visually stimulating. Also, this was the first introduction of Spider-Man into this universe. Like Spider-Man has done time and time again, the Tobey Maguire, the Andrew Garfield. And so introducing a new Spider-Man, obviously they got to do a new twist, and I think his suit was awesome.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
Totally.
So I mean, not too much to say about it. I don't think it really there's anything that like stood out from the movie itself, but I think just all these Marvel movies just do a really good job at making it very visually stimulating and engaging.
Yeah, I don't have anything like super crazy to add. I also gave it a 6. I just think that the fight scenes, like I said, in Civil War make Batman versus, or like are better than Batman versus Superman. Makes it a stronger rating for me. I also just think that plainclothes Avengers is the funniest thing.
It's just like nondescript clothes.
Just plain hats, no logo. Everyone wears them.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you see 3 homies hanging out in public and they just have 3 different colored plain hats that aren't even snapbacks,
then you know they're an Avenger.
Then you know that they're actually
They
superheroes.
have no brand loyalty.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, dude.
But I feel like Disney and Marvel could afford to put brands in their thing. Or make them wear Disney clothes.
I don't know.
or just have Marvel across their hats.
Yeah, just have the Avengers A. Like I don't know, man.
Hey, that might be Captain America.
But it gave me a pretty great Halloween costume idea. So That's all I got for eye candy.
Yeah, you'd have to explain it a lot, but it would be a funny costume.
That'd be great. I'd love it.
There is one little Zack Snyder kind of shot when they're fighting in the when Captain America and Iron Man are I was gonna say and Civil War, but and Iron Man are fighting each other, and Iron Man like shoots his like beam, and Captain America hits it with a shield, and it slows down and shows that like kind of like a poster. Looks sick. All right, so that's 6s from all of us.
Looks sick.
Let's move on to originality, our next category. This is just talking about the creativity of the movie and whether it needed to be made, and whether it stands out compared to other movies in its genre, so like action movies and comic book movies. Nick, Talia, why don't you start?
What are we starting with?
We'll start with Civil War since we're on it.
Okay, so I think Civil War uses the political landscape thing well, and I think that's kind of an original thing to add into a superhero movie because that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Something like that would happen if there were a bunch of superheroes. They would draft some sort of accords and be like, yo, you guys aren't allowed to just do stuff without someone telling you what to do. Someone would try and wrangle them in, or it would become some sort of commercial thing. One of the two. Probably the latter. Batman versus Superman could have done the same thing, and it didn't. And that's, I think, what... really one of the things at the heart of how it fails. Like I think Captain America: Civil War is above average. I gave it a 5 because the stakes. The stakes are high. Like there are 2 tragedies before this movie that create the stakes for this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In other movies,
right?
And so that. Like what the stakes are because you have history with these characters, and that just doesn't happen in the other movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Do you mind if I go?
Go for it.
Let her rip. I totally agree with that. I gave it a 5 in originality. I think it's one of the more creative story structures of any of the Marvel movies.
Totally.
Especially with them going back and forth and then giving you an understanding of Bucky while there's this mysterious thing going on with Zemo that they won't tell you about until late. I also really respect how visually creative they are with like the choreography of the fighting, which is very important right now with how popular the John Wick movies are. So I think people like really care about how realistic and cool the fighting would look.
Right, you can have a crappy plot line, but have some awesome action scenes.
That's it. Yeah, like the John Wick movies are dumb, but they're awesome visually to watch, and they're like they and the lore kind of works with that too. So mysteriousness really aids a movie in that way too. I agree with you, Nick, that I think there's a lot of like good development in the other movies that bring you to this, and I think there's good writing for the issues that lead the characters to their decisions. Yeah. Like you really understand what would send Tony over the edge. Especially that Tony is on the edge at the beginning. Like there's something going on with Pepper and his relationship. They put that in there on purpose to show that he's like,
and having
he's mad at his decisions.
Having those movies before this movie allows this movie to be more original and take risks because you're afforded that level of freedom because you already know these people, these heroes.
Yeah. Another thing is like, Zemo's storyline is really cool. It's really clever. But if you watch like the Honest trailer about this, it is extremely convenient how everything comes together. It's the same thing with like Lex Luthor's plot that they both need to have like a lot of luck for things to work out.
Right. But the thing is though, I'll save this. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think if there's any other cons, like I really feel like there's no big consequences in hindsight for how big the stakes were that they made them seem. Like even in the end, they make you know that War Machine is recovering. Like there's nothing really happens. Cap even says, "Hey, if you ever need me, I'll be back." And it's like, are you really leaving then?
Right. Everyone learns a lesson.
Yeah. Cut it off. I do love when Cap or Bucky also say, "Don't kill anyone," and he's like, "I'm not going to kill anyone," and then they kick someone in the chest through a wall. It's like, dude, there's the part when Bucky, like,
the wind knocked out of him.
There's that really cool thing where he, like, uses the, like, ledge of the thing, the railing of the staircase and goes down.
Oh, yeah, it rips across.
Yeah, it rips across and then, like, kicks the dude. That dude is dead. Yeah. I also think it's really cool that they don't rehash Spider-Man's storyline. They just bring you right into it. They make you know, hey, this is Spider-Man. And the only difference is that his aunt is really hot instead of an old lady.
dude.
I think that the thing that makes this story work and the way it comes together, that it's ultimately about like humanity and emotions. And like, that's what's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's really clever and original. Nick.
Yeah. You know, I guess I was going to give it a 7, but after hearing you guys, I'll probably drop it just down one notch to a 6. You know, it's, I think, Zemo, great villain. He has a great line in this. An empire toppled by its enemies can rise again, but one which crumbles from within, that's dead forever. That's
a great
awesome.
line. Yeah.
I think that was like, it makes the idea of the movie make a lot more sense and why this movie needed to be made within the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And as you guys said, I think there's a little bit more backstory with the previous movies. You know, they even replay that whole video before they're about to sign the accords of the destruction that they've done. So there's a lot more leading up to this movie that just gives it a lot higher stakes. You're a lot more invested in what's going on.
Totally.
Also, you know, the intro of Black Panther, he was awesome. Intro of Spider-Man, didn't even need a background. He was great, but the introduction of Black Panther really pumped everybody to go see Black Panther because, you know, his dad dies. They have like a great bond from the first like minute or two you even see them.
Yeah.
And then his dad immediately dies.
It's like incredible character development for a very limited amount of time.
Yeah,
Right.
very unique the way that this movie brings those guys in just to have to spin them off.
Yeah,
you
just
know,
to be
a few months
pieces in
later.
it. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
great.
Right. And the only other point I really have is, did this movie need to be made? Yes, because if this movie didn't happen, the snap like never would have happened in spoiler alert to anybody who hasn't seen any of the Avengers. But that would never have happened in Infinity Wars. Like they wouldn't have split up. I think the Russo brothers even said it in like an interview. Like they would have never split up. There would be obviously Avengers would be a lot more together to attack what's going on with Thanos. So this movie needed to be made so they could disperse a little bit more, and the later Avengers could make a lot more sense.
That's a great point.
So
Yeah.
that's it. That's all
Yeah,
I got.
Cool,
so you're
man.
giving it a 6.
I'm giving it a
That's a great
6.
point.
Yeah, that's it.
think there's
I
some
really like
gaps,
that.
but-
I
Yeah, so
thought
that's
about
5s from Nick and I. What'd you give?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5s and a 6 out of 7.
Cinco.
Let's talk about originality with Batman versus Superman.
Okay.
I can get started on this one. I gave it a 2. I'm going to bring up something for discussion in a second, but I think the theme of the movie is cool because it's the theme of Civil War. That actions have really drastic consequences, and these fights between like demigods cause like insane destruction and deaths. Like I watch Avengers movies and stuff, and I am like always in my head, I'm trying to calculate the damage of the cities. Like anytime they destroy a road, I'm like, that's $1 million right there.
Yeah.
But this is the problem with the movie. In the end, they end up fighting a huge CGI monster and causing a ton of destruction.
Yes,
So they just
exactly.
throw out this whole
sense.
idea like immediately. And it's
Not
like
to mention the nuclear radiation that just rains
Right.
down
Yeah.
on
the EMP or whatever that goes off, or when the monster comes out and it like destroys all the cities and stuff. Remember when it, like,
yeah.
nuke in the air too, but yeah, no,
Well, yeah,
they
like,
nuke them in space, but
It's
like,
like-
you can see it falling down.
It's like at the end of
Just
the
cover
day,
your mouth.
what's
yeah,
the
it's like,
stance?
everyone's okay.
Just
We
don't
had
go
to blow them
outside for
up,
a
even
few
though it
days.
didn't kill anybody.
At the end of it, it's like, what is Zack Snyder's stance on this?
Right.
I don't get it. It's
Right.
He's not grappling with it, and also I don't like that they call this movie Batman versus Superman, and they tease that fight as the main part of the movie, and really in the end it doesn't matter. It becomes like a really cool fight, but it has nothing to do
Yeah,
with the
it's-
overall plot of
it's-
the. Well, it kind of does.
It's
I guess.
most of the Justice League v. Doomsday.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, the thing is, it's just like it's a really muddled story because it's overly complicated,
Yeah, right.
and there's no real impact. And the best way to focus on that is how the fight comes together with Iron Man in Captain America: Civil War. Like, it makes sense for all the characters to be doing that at that time. And I could sit here. Even today, I was talking to Alec, our guest from last week. Shout out to you, Alec. Even today, I was like in the kitchen for like a half hour talking about how I understand where Batman is coming from, where Superman is coming from. But that's me overthinking it. There's like, the movie doesn't set you up in that way. And I don't think it's original. I don't think it needed to be made in that way. What about you, Nick Doria?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. I think the direction of kind of where they're trying to take the movie is just so convoluted, and it gets very confusing. You know, it's Batman, as you said, Batman versus Superman, but it's really, how are we going to restrain Superman?
Right.
And then then Lex Luthor's plan on the side, and then that becomes a main thing. And I don't know, it just kind of twists and turns a little bit, but not in a good way, and just more of
it's so weird
confusing
too, because
aspect.
it's not even like, how can we restrain Superman? It's like, well, Superman wouldn't have done that if like another Kryptonian hadn't have shown up.
Yeah, he didn't do anything. He wasn't trying to.
He did.
Yeah,
he like plows him through stuff, and they use laser vision on each other and blow
But he would have
stuff
the whole
up.
Earth
But
would
here's
have
the
been
thing.
fucked up anyway.
Yeah, that's the
So
point.
thing,
General Zod was gonna kill all of them.
the
Right.
entire planet, so we
Boom.
would have been screwed anyways.
So you have to destroy a city. Like, it's
Yeah.
like Ozymandias' like whole plot in Watchmen, which I won't spoil for you since
Thank
you haven't
you,
heard it.
thank
But
you.
like, it's that idea.
It just doesn't add up.
Good man.
I ended up giving it a 3 because I tend to give credit for ideas, and a lot of the ideas are not bad ideas. Like for instance, a young Lex probably could have been a good idea. It's just executed in the worst possible way.
Right.
And like this is like a huge way that this movie falls short too, is that Lex is not a good. In this movie, he could have been fine. But in this movie, Lex is not a good villain because he's too what's the word I'm looking for? Explicit, overt, obvious. Like Zemo is in the back. Zemo has no superpowers, just like Lex. Yeah. He's intelligent, just like Lex. He's conniving, just like Lex. But he's shrouded in the dark.
Yeah.
For
Right.
most of the movie.
And Lex Luthor is like front and center.
And so he's a perfect villain for a movie that isn't really about Baron Zemo. It's about the battle between Captain America and his ideals and Iron Man and his ideals.
Yeah.
True that.
And that's why like having Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman is just goofy because you want to focus on him, but really it's not about him. It's about the idea of, should we restrain the most powerful being on the planet? Or should we allow him to act fettered? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just doesn't work. Like a lot of the ideas are there, but they don't work. I have a lot of ideas for how this movie could have been like facelifted.
Do a facelift at the end. That would be cool.
I'm gonna do it when we talk about legacy, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Nick, you had some. Do you have some other points?
Disappointing.
No,
Disappointing.
Not really. I just think they as you're saying, they kind of flipped the script in Man of Steel. Superman saving the day. He's saving the whole planet, and then the script is flipped in the beginning of the movie when you see all the destruction that happens. And yeah, that totally makes sense. But like they build him up in this first movie as this amazing guy saving the planet, and then just suddenly everybody hates him. Like there's
That's
people
a
that
good
are
point.
questioning
That it's like
him
immediately afterwards.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's just like an immediate flip, and it's just kind of confusing.
it's just
unearned.
It's just
Yeah.
Batman's
Yeah.
paranoia is how it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
Exactly.
explained to
There
us.
is even a 1% chance we have to consider that an absolute certainty,
Right.
and it's like,
No.
that math doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
So I gave it a 3.
I wrote down that like the big thing is that Lex Luthor has this really complicated and convoluted plot, like Baron Zemo, but this complicated plot gets undone by the simple fact that they both have the same name for their moms. I understand why they put in the Martha thing. I know a lot of people think it's really stupid, and I think it's stupid too because it doesn't fit.
Right.
But if you have all this shit building up, and then that's the thing, and then it's like his not only does this thing become undone, the movie then turns into, let's fight this big CGI monster.
For our
It's like
mommies.
not original. Exactly. For
mommies.
mom. Yeah. Like, it just
Yeah, because
doesn't work.
your explanation for why the Martha thing makes sense is cool. That
Yeah.
that like Batman never thinks of Superman as a human
Yeah,
until he
right.
finds out that he has a mom and his mom's the same name as my mom who died. Like, okay.
It's like it makes him stop and think.
He is a person. It makes him stop and think, but not in that
But here's the thing. Baron Zemo's plan worked all the way through. And that's why that line, his last line in the movie saying, did it? Like when they're like, oh, we stopped your plan and it didn't work. And he goes like, or whatever. He's like, did it?
Right. It did because the snap.
It's so... Right. Well, the snap, and he broke them up. Like, he ultimately wins that. And they fought each other and really hurt each other. Right. Like... Yeah, so I gave it a 2. It just comes into like a CGI color mashing fuckfest, and I hate that. Let's end it with Legacy.
Okay.
Legacy is where we just talk about like if this movie's going to be talked about, how it was perceived when it came out, and whether it will stand the test of time in the history of movies. Let's start with Batman versus Superman.
Okay, so I'm going to start with this one because I just want to use this time to talk about how DC Comics were always my favorite when I was a kid and I read comic books.
I played sports.
Those are the comic books. No, you didn't. You went to school. Which one was it, Gabe? Did you go to school? Or did you play sports? No, you're lying.
I know.
You're a liar.
I don't know how to read.
You're lifting weights? Where'd you get those barbells?
Yeah, dude, you CrossFit lord.
Yeah, I've been beating a wheel.
That's a metaphor for something.
I've been beating my wheel.
So DC Comics were always my favorite when I was a kid. And so these movies, when DC just blows it, they really disappoint me. And I think this movie could have been. I know. I'm a little bit sad. I'm very sad. When we talk about our favorite heroes at the end of this, I'll explain why I'm really sad.
Yeah.
It's just like this movie should have been 2 different movies. It should have been Batman versus Superman, but Batman can't fight Superman, so he meets Wonder Woman, and then they decide that Superman has to be restrained for some reason. He has to do something in this movie, again, blows up another city, another Sokovia happens, right? And then you have a reason for these 2 people to go up against Superman, because Wonder Woman does team up with Batman in this movie, but only to show up at the end to fight Doomsday.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then at that point, would they say, like, I thought she was with you?
Yeah.
That whole part.
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense because he knows. How do
They're
people...
emailing. They're emailing about it.
How do people not recognize each other in this? Like, Henry Cavill has a very specific face. Batman is face to face with him. And it's the glass. It's like...
It just bothers me, and Doomsday should have been saved. Doomsday is a cool villain, man. Doomsday is supposed to be a weapon of mass destruction made on Krypton and then unleashed because Krypton falls. And then he just ravages planet after planet until he's just like, there's a Superman on Earth. I gotta go there and beat up that guy because he's the only thing that could defeat me.
Yeah,
and
that's probably
and
better.
he's not supposed to be this snarling half Lex Luthor, half General Zod, like thrown into the end of a movie. He's like Superman's like one of his biggest villains in the comics, and they just barely use him at the end of this movie. It should have been 2 movies. Justice League should have been fighting Doomsday, and like a Wonder Woman versus Superman scene would have been really interesting to watch, and a total out of left field thing for this movie to throw in.
What did you end up giving it for Legacy?
A 2
out of 7. Okay.
Yeah, I should have. F it. I'm giving it a 1.
All right.
Spited.
Nick Dory, you talk about. I have some stats.
It makes me so mad that DC botched these things.
I gave it a 2. I don't know. I just think they just tried too hard to lay Easter eggs for other movies in this.
Oh my God.
And it just came out as confusing. I mean,
Painting of
it's
the next villain.
Yeah. It's tough because, the whole idea of your podcast here is to compare movies, and it's tough for me not to just straight up talk about how Marvel does a way better job at making their epic movies by building them up with other awesome movies. Like, this is movie number 2 in the DC universe, and they're just throwing so many things at you that you're trying to pick up on, but you don't necessarily get. And then all of a sudden they're like spoon feeding you the this is Aquaman and this is Cyborg, and it's
In an email attachment from a drive.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It was slightly encrypted.
Of how they
Ooh.
found... Dude, they had those like special logos for each of them. Like, who created that?
Yeah, exactly. And they're badass logos. I think
They're
Lex
sick
Luthor's like,
logos.
yeah,
Their
this is
graphic
something
design team is
Oh, because it's Lex Luthor did it.
strong.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
But yeah, no, overall, I don't know. Obviously, I think people forget about it. I think, we're lucky that Suicide Squad came out right after to make people forget about this movie. These two movies came out within a month and a half of one another or something.
Yeah, it was like maybe half a year or something. No,
no.
right.
I'm
They
sorry.
were both
Between
summer.
Civil War, Civil
Yeah, I
War
think
and
they were both
Batman.
in the summer,
They're
you're
like
right.
I think 2-month difference between the two of them. But yeah, no. Overall legacy. Will this movie stand? No, definitely will not. Who knows what will happen with the DC universe? Maybe that'll help you kind of turn it around a little bit.
Yeah,
with all the
I'm
Easter eggs,
definitely excited for the Matt Reeves Batman just because of the casting. I think he might have a good take on it. He's done well with the Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah, I'm into Wonder Woman too.
I gave it a 2. That does look good too. I gave it a 2 out of 7, just like you, Nick, Doria.
Thank you.
It got a 28% from critics, so I think you're right. People forgot how bad this was because Suicide Squad just was so much worse. But it still made $873 million, and that's a lot. I think the big thing is this is the first warning sign that people are like, why the hell was Zack Snyder given all of the reins to run this whole franchise?
It makes me so upset.
It showed how wrong he was to build it because he didn't care about building it. He just rushed it in, and then he then they overcorrected him by bringing in Joss Whedon, which has birthed what is actually going to have a bigger legacy, which is the hashtag release the Snyder Cut is going to be more talked about from Justice League than either of these two movies. I think it's the first red flag that DC was not able to properly compete with Marvel and they were going to lose.
Yeah.
It also just feels really forgettable, and it stands out because of, for me, none of it stands out except for the bizarre apocalyptic sequence that I'm just never going to forget because it's so weird.
Why does Batman wear a trench coat?
A duster, as they call it, and It's Always Sunny. Yeah, so I gave it a 2. I mean, it's like the thing that's really building it up is that there are some hardcore Snyder fans out there who fucking love this movie, and it got a pretty high audience rating.
I mean,
so
Zack Snyder's
it's not going away.
Awesome movies. I love 300.
300 is cool. It's visually amazing,
dude. When that came out, people fucking loved that movie.
I was one of those people. I rewatched it recently.
epic.
It's not bad. It's stupid, but it's fun.
But it's
fun.
totally epic. And
I
that
like what he did with Watchmen. I think that he messed up a lot, but it's really cool visually.
And Dawn of the Dead is also
that's his best.
That's I mean horror movies are my top dollar numero uno
We'll get you
favorite.
we're bringing you on for
like
a horror movie.
These superhero movies are definitely a strong second for me, but
Let's do Aliens versus Predators versus Aliens versus Predators.
Exactly.
That's pretty funny.
But yeah, horror movies are my numero uno, and Dawn of the Dead is fucking awesome.
And you like his version of it. Cool.
Oh, it's fucking
maybe we'll do that. All right, let's finish it off with legacy for Captain America:
6.
Civil War.
There's
I give
not
it
a whole
6.
lot to talk about that we already haven't.
I just like throwing out some stats. I mean, it's almost a 7 for me as a comic book movie.
You do? Did you go to school, you nerd?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, to learn how to say numbers, huh?
Yeah, I know how to read. I said I didn't know how to read earlier, actually, so I messed that up.
You are just contradicting yourself left
with
and
how
right.
crazy and chaotic the story is. It really I'm going to remember it in that way, so it's fun. It made 1.15 billion worldwide, but the reason I'm not going to give it a 7 is because Black Panther was after it, made 1.3 billion worldwide, and Endgame made 2.8 billion worldwide. And it had pretty high ratings, like 91% and 89% audience score, but it's still critically lower than the other two that I mentioned. I think it's still really well loved by fans, and it really set up Infinity War. It showed us a lot of the peaks of these character arcs, and it really made us care about them to the point where we would all be paying to see Infinity War and Endgame multiple times because the Russo brothers nailed it. Mm-hmm. That's why I give it a 6.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Nick?
I gave it a 5.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're a
so
hater.
slightly lower. I mean, I think I'm not necessarily contradicting myself in terms of originality, but it's not one of the movies that totally sticks out in the Marvel universe. It did, like, the impact it had on the entire series and the whole timeline. Like I said before, Snap wouldn't have happened, anything like that. I think that impact is huge. But when you look back at it, all you think of it is more just like the movie that introduced Black Panther and Spider-Man. I don't know.
That's good.
I don't think it, like, stuck out in terms of villain. Obviously, villain was great, but, like, I don't think it just stuck out between all of them.
It's not exactly menacing.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot more emotional toll that it did to help build up the other movies, but as a standalone, I mean, awesome movie, but I don't think the impact of all the other Marvel movies was quite as up to snuff.
Yeah, I agree. It's not like, I don't think it's like top 5 for me, but it's pretty close. I still really like it, and it was better on this rewatch, I would say.
Yeah.
Let's add it up.
All right, baby.
What did you give, Nick
I have
Tellier?
a total of 29 for Captain America: Civil War.
Out of 35.
Out of 35.
Nice.
So 29 for
I
me.
had a 28 out of 35. Slightly lower. What about you, Victoria?
I think I changed one through, but I think I had a 29 there.
Okay, nice. And then what about for Batman versus Superman, Nick? Tell you.
I had a total of 16 because I changed my my legacy score to a 1.
Woof. 16 out of 35. That's tough. I gave it a 14 out of 35.
Ooh.
Still brutal. I thought it was going to be lower. I thought I hated this movie more, but I really didn't.
Yeah.
What
I'm
about you,
sneaking
Victoria?
right in between you two there.
Oh, 15?
With a nice little 15.
Cool. 15
So,
out of 35. What
yeah.
is the total scores of these movies out of 105?
45 for
Batman
versus Superman: Dawn of Justice, and 75 for our other movie.
Nice. 75 is good. That's good. Good for you, Civil War. Let's get into our little accolade section, y'all. We typically talk about like MVPs and stuff, but let's
85. It was 85. I can't add.
85. Wow, that's even better.
There we go.
Even better for you, Civil War. You know what? Give yourself a pat on the back, Civil War, you inanimate movie. Let us do, instead of our normal...
86. Woof. I can't add. Sorry, guys.
Nick, you are fucking with my flow, dude. All right, let's do a little fun section right now. We're going to talk about each of our top 5
baby.
comic book heroes that are in movies. So we're only including the ones in heroes. So don't come at us with your bullshit comic book on paper stuff that we've never seen. You know, I don't want to talk about Black Adam or whatever. Not
Ones
because
that
he's
have
black,
been in
he's
movies.
dope. I'm pretty excited for when that movie comes out, to be honest.
You are.
Good stuff. Hey, Nick Tellier, why don't you start with your top 5?
Pinker than rhubarb pie right now, friend.
I feel like the meme or like the skit with or Jordan Peele and the internet history. So good.
My top 5 in movies from 5 to 1 is number 5 Cyclops, number 4 Wolverine,
Ew.
number 3 the Human Torch, number 2 Spider-Man, and number 1 Green Lantern.
Like Chris Evans' Human Torch. Are we just talking?
Wow, I
like,
couldn't disagree more with your top 5.
These are not my favorite in the movie that they're in.
That's a fair point.
These are my favorite comic book characters,
That
just
have been in
who
movies.
they are,
Got it.
and they're in movies.
Got it.
Obviously, Green Lantern is the worst movie.
Yeah, no, and I don't disagree.
But Green Lantern imagined properly and put into a DC movie, that could be the Guardians of the Galaxy of that franchise.
Yeah.
The Green Lantern Corps is a bunch of goofy, weird aliens that all are like superpowered policemen. That's Guardians of the Galaxy in the DC universe, if you do it right. And it's not done right. He was always my favorite.
Yeah,
Beware my power, Green Lantern's light, bitches.
We wanted to do it with like ones that were in movies, not because like we're not rating it based on the movies they're in, but the movies could help your image of them. For sure. But oh man, having like Human Torch and like Cyclops in there
Dude,
and
fire powers are sick.
Wolverine, he's got like
Cyclops.
blades.
Dude, Cyclops
for
is a
fingers.
leader and a hero.
He's a freaking dingus.
Yeah, he is a dingus. Yeah, we're gonna bully you, dude. We're super
What comics have you read, you boner?
Yeah, Watchmen. That's it. All right, Nick Doria. What about yours? Make me proud.
So let's go through. This isn't in any particular
Sorry
order.
for thinking outside of the box.
You're so in the box, it hurts.
I do appreciate that. It's such a Nick Delier list. I love it.
Okay, Deadpool,
Sick.
Wolverine. This is in no particular
No order. Oh yeah,
Okay.
fair.
Deadpool, Wolverine, Spawn.
Whoa, that's a sick outside the box one.
Spawn, fucking awesome movie. Those, although I really don't think I ever actually read the comics, I just remember perusing through at a young age and how crazy the graphics were.
Yeah.
And all the illustrations. Another left field, Blade.
I hate that.
Dude,
but yeah, cool.
I don't know. I just
you
have
would love
something
our
with the
buddy
Blade
Jimmy
movies.
is obsessed with the Blade movies.
I don't know.
That's awesome.
That's just, this is really sticking to the movies because I have no idea about the actual comics and the graphic novels with them. And then probably this would have to be numero uno because this is like what made me fall in love with all superheroes is Spider-Man.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Spider-Man is
That was your
like
number
the
2,
bee's
Nick?
knees.
Yeah. Yeah, Spider-Man's pretty sick. I didn't realize how basic mine was going to be in comparison.
Yeah, because you're simple and you didn't go to school.
No, because there's easy arguments for each of these.
He was in
My
space,
number
fucking
5
tight.
is Iron Man. I've grown to like him. People love him way more than I do. He is really just a billionaire playboy, misogynistic guy who is fueled by his own shame. But anyways, number 4 is Black Panther. I like the way that they do that in the movies. Number 3 is Batman. Number 2 is Superman. I love Superman's powers, and I love that Superman just saves. It's simple. But my number 1 is my boy Captain America. I really believe in him, and I think that these movies really help that. I love
Chris Evans
everything.
crushes it.
And
He's
just
an
he's a
awesome
human
job.
being, but he's a superpowered human being. I like that. He doesn't have any special powers. He's just strong and fast.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah, no.
Do you guys have any honorable mentions?
Magneto and Mystique.
Yeah, I guess Magneto.
We're
When I
not,
won,
or not really.
That's
I love
exactly
that.
what
We're
I
not
wrote
really
down.
heroes, but they kind of are, and they are in some of the comics.
Yes.
They're,
Yeah, I
was gonna
wanted-
say if we're
Their cause
line.
is they are like their cause is they're a little bit more militant, but
Right.
what they're trying to aim for is
Right.
to
Magneto.
Mystique does
Magneto's
good
my
sound
favorite
for a
villain.
while.
I think
Yeah, she
he's the
does.
best. He has to be my favorite. I'm a Jew. He's a survivor of the
he's-
Holocaust.
Yeah, after Green Lantern, he's my
I
favorite
just-
comic book character.
I wanted them to be predominantly heroes for me. I put in Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen.
Oh, there you
I
go.
love that. Deadpool is on mine as well. I love Deadpool. And actually, I put in what my favorite X-Men, not from the movies, is Jean Grey, and that's mostly because I'm really obsessed with telekinesis. Like I literally have dreams. Like almost every single night when I realize I'm in a dream, I start trying to move things with my mind because you can do that. If you realize you're in a dream and you stay in it, you can do whatever you want.
dreaming. You're that
You guys
guy.
better dream, y'all.
Do you have a dream journal?
I used to. I really need to get one. Do you guys have an MVP for these movies? Any quick
Jesse Eisenberg. Just kidding.
Yeah, he's definitely my
let's see.
LVP.
MVP. Baron Zemo. It works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Thinking dark.
I don't know. I think Captain America, I think he does a great job. Every single movie, he gets better and better.
Yeah, they've
like
really
the
handled
first
him
one
well.
was
very true.
soft. First Captain America, I was like, this is gonna be bad standalone
What is this
movies.
propaganda bullshit?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then the second one comes out and you're like, holy shit, that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And then this one, you tie in his amazing abilities with a little bit more of an emotional toll. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think I loved him in these.
Nice.
And then obviously, Chris Evans is a Boston guy, so got to represent.
Oh, true that.
So Ben Affleck
Yeah.
and Batman too.
Chris
so.
Evans just seems like an
Or
awesome
Boston.
person. Him and Jenny Slater are an awesome couple.
I think they broke up.
That's sad. Well, you guys were. MVP
crying
for me. I put I put the Russo brothers. I like what they did. Do you guys
All
have any
theirs have been the
quotes
best
that
ones.
we didn't get to that you want to mention? Yeah, let's do it.
Great quote in Batman versus Superman, where Holly Hunter, Senator Finch or whatever, she goes, "You can call me whatever you like. Take a bucket of piss and call it Grandma's peach tea."
Yeah, and then he gives her grandma's. I didn't catch that line both times I watched this.
No.
So I didn't understand why there was piss on her table.
Yeah, well, they throw out like her being the real Southern girl that time, and then she's like, "I grew up on a farm. I know how to wrestle a pig." Like,
Is
I don't
that
know.
a thing?
It's not that I.
It's like, dude, Holly Hunter, you're 5'1", homegirl.
exactly.
You ain't fucking wrestled
What
no
are you
pig.
talking about?
Maybe
More
a piglet.
Played 18, shot 18.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this up. I just can't seem to miss.
Can't seem to miss.
I thought about this. This is like,
Hawkeye.
that is just that line is the best argument for me to be like, wait, maybe I want to be Hawkeye if I want to be a superhero. Because, like, the dude, maybe he has special powers, like, he can't miss. Like, Domino in the Deadpool movie
like
is,
a
like,
bullseye?
lucky,
Right.
but he
Oh,
can,
yeah,
like,
true.
he magically hits everything. Like, he never misses.
He's Deadeye.
Everything's purpose.
Or bullseye or whatever.
Purposeful, yeah. I love when he goes, "We haven't met yet, I'm Clint," and Black Panther's like, "I don't care."
Yeah.
And then it's like that. Thank you for
Sounded like,
shutting them up.
You
For
sounded like Antonio Banderas there.
I don't acquiesce. Yeah, I love the Tony. You're being uncharacteristically hyperverbal.
Yeah, it's a great line.
Yeah, I've really grown. I didn't talk about her in acting, but I've really grown to like Black Widow as a character. Like I think she's awesome. I'm kind of excited for the movie.
Me too.
It's weird.
It's
Doesn't
weird
need to
and
be
not
made.
a place, but
Yeah.
I like it. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Mixed emotions.
Florence Pugh is that girl.
Yeah.
You guys didn't even mention your favorite line across the entire movie of Batman versus Superman. Maybe we mentioned it. Lois Lane is the key.
Yeah.
Lois Lane.
Did you notice at the end when he's talking to Lex, he goes, "Whatever you do, wherever you go, I'll be watching you." And I was like, dun 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 dun. Dun. That's all I was thinking about. I'll be watching you. All right, let's close this out, dudes. Do you guys have any recommendations of things that people should watch?
I don't have recommendations for things people should watch, but as we've been recording this, the Nostalgunk podcast tweeted us out as a shout out, so shout out to them.
Oh, sick! Yeah,
we do a cross promo with them.
Yeah, you can hear out the back of the.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you guys. Really appreciate that. If you haven't seen the movie, this is about superpowered people. If you haven't seen the movie Chronicle, I think that's a really clever movie.
You are my guy.
Did you put that down?
Yes.
Yeah,
Dude,
I love that movie.
Chronicle's great.
I love lost film movies.
Yeah, found footage.
Found footage. It can be hit or miss, I guess.
Yeah.
That movie crushed Michael B. Jordan.
I think it's really clever the way they do it. And I also thought it was the first time I was like, Dane DeHaan is going to be like this huge actor.
Yeah,
and it kind of
absolutely.
was for a little bit. But,
yeah, he did his thing.
Oh,
Goblin,
man, the part when he... the spider thing where he, where he like
rips
spreads
all the legs off.
If you haven't seen that movie, it's really clever. Nick and I saw it in theaters and it was really fun.
Love it.
I also recommend that you go look up the Captain Planet video by Funny or Die with Don Cheadle.
Yep.
It's so funny. Any other recommendations?
The only thing I'd recommend, just because I think I looked it up and it's got horrible reviews, but it's got a soft spot in my heart because I think it's a great movie.
The Spawn.
No, Spawn, great movie. Everybody loves that movie. Is The Punisher.
Oh,
The Punisher, I don't know. It has horrible reviews. It's definitely a little cheesy at parts, but I think that movie is awesome. And there's one fight scene in that movie that is totally epic. Don't want to ruin it, but if you haven't seen that movie, give it a little view.
Did you watch the show?
Travolta's a little odd as the villain, but
Did you watch the show?
no. So I never
heard the
saw the show. I need to
choreography
watch
was cool.
Daredevil. And
Yeah, we tried Daredevil. It was tough,
I heard it
dude.
worked for me. Yeah.
Everyone loves it though. We're definitely
Yeah.
in the we're definitely like the minority
Agents
opinion.
of S.H.I.E.L.D. is like pretty good for a couple seasons, and then it's not.
What about Agent Carter? Whatever. All right. So you guys can follow us on social media. We are on Instagram, instagram.com/facingoffpod. You can follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/facingoffpod. Just look up Facing Off for either of those and you'll see our stupid faces. And then send us an email. We didn't get an email from you, Mom. So what's up with that?
Yeah, what's up,
And I want to
baby?
I want to get some emails from you guys. Just like send us something. It's better than just sending me a text. think out something, we'll read it for everyone on the pod. facingoffpodcast@gmail.com. Nick Doria, do you want people to follow you on Instagram?
Don't do it.
No.
Well, he's tagged in our post, so go follow him.
Actually, follow me. I need the clout.
Yeah, he's cool.
I need the
Well,
build up.
thanks for being on, man.
Thanks for having me. I
appreciate it.
I'm glad I was able to jump on for one of these
you made
movies.
some great points.
And honestly, thank you for being a listener to the pod. You've been listening to a lot, and you give me good
Absolutely.
feedback,
Yeah, man.
and I appreciate that.
Since day numero uno.
That's true. He was
But
in.
these Marvel movies and everything, I wouldn't have as much knowledge without my friend Gary Kantorski. He
Gary.
is the biggest comic book nerd I know, so I give not half of my knowledge, but a good chunk of my knowledge to asking Gary questions. So shout
Gary,
out to
come
Gary
on the
Kantorski.
pod. Gary, you're our boy.
Yeah,
do
come
some
on, Gary.
obscure
Fly out
comic book
west.
You're sick. All right, send off. Nick.
Okay.
Choo!
Longing, Rusted, 17, Daybreak, Furnace, 9, Benign, Homecoming, 1, Freight Car. Soldier?
Soldate.